flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. I'll go ahead and call the town council meeting of February 25th, 2025 to order. Our first order of business this evening is a public hearing for a TIF credit enhancement agreement program. This is a topic that we discussed at our last town council meeting 2 weeks ago. DeCarlo Brown is here this evening as well as his daughter, which we are happy to have her here this evening. But he's going to come up and kind of present and be available to answer any questions. And so DeCarlo, could I ask you to maybe come up and perhaps kind of give the 2 to 3 sentence kind of overview of what this program is, and then I'll open it up to the public if any questions or comments.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Credit enhancement agreement is agreement that you can do within your TIF districts. And what it does, it gives a reimbursement. It gives a reimbursement to anyone who's looking to develop in your town, be it a business, or if you can actually also use it for dwelling units, so affordable housing unit. And it gives a reimbursement on a portion of the improvement of the taxes. And so the original amount of taxes stays the same. They still have to pay those. So if they buy a property for $200,000, they still pay taxes on that $200,000. However, if they then build a building that's assessed value of like $750,000, usually you pay about $10,000 in taxes. You can get 50% off of that. So it would be a reimbursement of about $5,000 for that year. With a credit enhancement agreement program that we put together for you, what it basically says is that, hey, this gives you options to negotiate on a one-on-one basis of someone who's trying to come and develop in your town, and especially within your TIF district. And so that's the big gist of it. What you have before you today in that program gives you different options as far as, hey, how long do you want this to go for? These are guidelines. What type of development are you trying to attract? And so this is saying that, hey, it's up to $50,000 over a 5-year period, which means that it's really on the high end, it would be a improvement that is 1.5 million. And that's how you can get the full value of the 10% of each year up to $50,000. And so this is really garnered towards those medium to smaller type businesses. However, if a large business wants to come in, then you can negotiate higher than that, up to 75% of the improvement. So that's basically the overall of a credit enhancement agreement and how you use it within a TIF district. And Gwen wanted to represent that as well.
Thank you so much, Gwen.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, DeCarlo. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak or ask any questions regarding the TIF credit enhancement agreement program? Yeah, if you would just come to the podium and state your name and address.
So my address.
Sorry, can you just come up close so we can hear you, please?
The address is 13 Town Road.
Speak right into that, yeah. We're gonna make this difficult.
Yeah.
So, as you all know, being on a border town with New Hampshire, it's hard to get employees, to train employees, to make them stay. Moving a business from New Hampshire to Maine, a bunch of more taxes that a business owner is going to look for. So what this does, what this would do, is help a small business kind of solidify their trajectory forward, to get on their feet, to feel comfortable getting their staff situated, paying their staff well so that they stay. So it's a short-term benefit for them, would be a long-term benefit for the town. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Any other questions with that? Like, I just moved the business from New Hampshire to Maine. So this was like a very hit-home thing, so I wanted to be here for it.
I just appreciate you being here and sharing that feedback with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, real time, real life.
Yeah.
Real life,
Time
yeah, it's like from New Hampshire to Maine, there's a lot of things to juggle, right? So as a small business owner, you're trying to do all that, and you're trying to be a good boss and be able to maintain employees. It's the biggest, hardest thing to do. I've talked to a lot of the business owners in downtown South Berwick, a lot of the restaurant owners. And it's so hard for them to not only attract employees, but to keep them. we used to be able to afford housing around here, especially in southern Maine. There was, a really good population of it. My wife and I were lucky enough to capitalize that on years ago. But now that's just non-existent. So you factor that in with having to pay, income tax, all the other associated taxes. Something like this would really help to attract small businesses to move from New Hampshire to Maine, to be able to kind of solidify their business here. And again, would be a short-term kind of win for them and a long-term win for the town. Thank you for your time.
Excellent, thank you.
Anyone else in the room? Anyone on the phone for this public hearing? Council, any questions, comments, anything before I close it?
This is just a suggestion. Sometimes reading town policies is about as difficult as reading a legislative bill. A lot of the vocabulary is very difficult to understand. For example, like incremental taxes or equalized assessed value. So I think it would be helpful for also, not only for applicants, but for the community involved, just so they can understand it better. Maybe we have like a defined terms section, kind of like what we do with some of our ordinances, because the whole TIF is very difficult to understand, and it'd just be a lot easier for people to get on board if they understand it completely.
Like a glossary of terms,
Exactly.
thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like if we move forward with this, we can probably put together some kind of one pager cheat sheet, kind of something like that.
Absolutely.
Great, thanks, Melissa. Anyone else, council? Okay, it is 6:38. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, our first public hearing for the TIF Credit Enhancement Agreement Program. And I will go ahead and open the public hearing for the TIF amendment to the Transit District. This TIF amendment is an amendment that we're looking to make to the transit, or our existing TIF district, because, keep me honest, Jen, but my understanding is this is an amendment that will allow us to, in the future, be able to actually use funds in our already existing in our TIF account to pay for part of our bond payment for the renovation for this building, correct?
That is correct, yes, up to 50% of it. This is a new law that has come down from the state of Maine since we got this TIF district started. So it's something that we want to take advantage of to help the tax burden.
Great, and those funds in the TIF district are not otherwise allocated for anything else at this point?
That is correct.
Great, thank you. I'll open it up to the public. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding the TIF amendment to the transit district? No one in the room, anyone on the phone? Okay, and council, questions, comments, anything?
Just
Go for it.
just a suggestion, as my computer just farted out on me. On the table 1 that lists the town of Southborough's project costs, previously approved projects. If you look at the line items of the cost estimate, they don't line up with the, it's hard to, when you're getting down to page 2, the numbers don't line up with what they're actually, do you see what I'm saying, Jen?
I do see that. This is something that the lawyers put together.
Oh,
But I definitely see your point, because I had the same issue when I was looking through it, so.
I just didn't know with state approval, I know they their I's dotted, their T's crossed, if it was just, it literally just needs to be shifted, to the beginning of the paragraph, just so it's a little easier to read, that's all.
I can certainly mention that to them when we turn this back in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anything else, council?
Is now the time to talk about, or should we talk about after?
What we're gonna do is we're going to, so this is kind of question time period, and then we'll close the public hearing, and then we're gonna immediately, jumping ahead here, but we're gonna actually make a motion to move our
Okay.
business up so that DeCarlo can get out of here.
I'll talk about it after.
All right, last chance, any other comments on this public hearing? Okay, it is 6:40 PM, and I'm going to close the public hearing for the TIF amendment to the TIF district. And as I mentioned before, as I just mentioned, we're actually gonna shuffle business around a little bit to help DeCarlo out this evening. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to move new business 1 and 2 up ahead of approval of the following minutes in our agenda. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of moving these 2 new business items up in the agenda, say aye. Jeff?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. All right, so just for everyone who has an agenda, yes,
If you call roll.
I did not call roll, thank you. We have all 5 counselors present, thank you very much, Jen. We have all 5 counselors present and our manager and our clerk here this evening, thank you. Should have done that well before the public hearing. And now I will get back to new business number 1 and 2. So discussion action on the TIF credit enhancement agreement program, and because we're shuffling around, just give me a second to get to the right page in our documents unless anyone's got it handy. Here we go, I got it. For the council, it's page 92 in our packets. All right, so we had a public hearing on the TIF credit enhancement agreement program. DeCarlo's here. If we have any questions, additional questions for him. So order of business for us this evening would be to go ahead and vote to potentially approve this. So I'll open it up and see if anyone has any questions for DeCarlo.
Yeah, I just had one question. We kind of talked about, whether or not this was, last week I had asked about whether or not this has been proven to, be something that helps towns in the past. We were in the public hearing that, yes, it definitely is. My question is, and I know it's totally up to the discretion, and it's on a case-by-case basis here with the council and approving these, but is this something where, anybody could claim, or a business could claim unfair treatment because they don't get the same kind of deal as another like type of business, or are we opening ourselves up to any liability that way?
No. So this is a regular tool for businesses. And every city uses this credit enhancement agreement. It's not unfair treatment because this is a one-on-one contract between you and the business, in total. Excuse me, sorry about that. Yeah. And so you don't open yourself up into any liability just because of the agreement that you're having an agreement. Sorry about that. But this is something that it's not unfair treatment because you're not doing it on the basis of race. You're not doing it on the basis of age or pricing. You're doing it on basically your judgment that is this improving the town. No one can actually go into a credit enhancement agreement unless they have proven that it's some extra use to the town. And that's how you get out of the agreement about, hey, this is something that's unfair treatment, because they have to do something even more than a regular business would do for you. Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
to follow up on that question, essentially, it's all wrapped up into a contract, so it's each individual who applies, each contract is an individual contract negotiated between the council and that individual person. So it's always an individual contract. So you're not doing it on a blanket statement. For instance, like a grant, everybody could apply for the grant, and this is an individual contract with an individual person, one-on-one.
Correct. And actually anybody who's within the TIF district can apply. And so that's basically your criteria, that they can apply and that they're building something new for the town. And outside of that that would be unfair treatment if it's something that you're searching for and the criteria was not equally applied. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, DeCarlo. Bill, do you have any other questions? Nope. Okay. Jeff, I think you did.
Not on
No,
this.
not on this one. And yes.
I just have one.
Yeah, good.
Try to keep it quick for DeCarlo. So DeCarlo, under the guiding principles or primary purposes for this policy, in one sentence, it's saying to stimulate the expansion of the town's commercial and industrial tax base, which we know we all need to help us with taxes.
Correct.
But then in a second breath, it's saying to encourage new affordable and market-rate housing investment.
Correct. Yeah.
So what if all of a sudden it was just like a boom in affordable housing and we're giving all these discounts? Like, is that gonna hurt us more than help us, or is it again a case-by-case basis?
It's both a case-by-case basis, and because the TIF is a temporary base, is on a temporary basis, it is as she's not as active anywhere else, so this is a surprise to me. But because the TIF is on a temporary basis, and anything that you do regarding the TIF is you're investing right now, and then once the TIF is off, all that additional value that you've created through your programs in the TIF comes to help out the tax base. That's the whole purpose of a TIF, is to do investment now. And so when the TIF is done, you reap the benefits of everything, all the investment you did during your time that you had the TIF. A TIF is not permanent. It's based on temporary improvements. And you're getting your house in order while you have a TIF. So when you no longer have a TIF, you're good to go and to grow to where you wanted to go before you chose to have a TIF.
And so to go along with that, remember, the council controls all the contracts, so if you had 55 contracts, people applied, you don't have to approve all of them, right? You could go through and each one you approve, you could see how that was draining down or changing the financial scope of the tip. So you'd have kind of direct control over that as well.
I also appreciated that when I had my questions about the contradiction of we need more business, but now we're trying to move more residents in.
Correct.
But I also, there is a section for anybody that's interested, it's the eligibility
Yes,
of the affordable housing and things to
Correct.
consider when an opportunity like that might come into our town. So I appreciate that that was in this document as well.
yes, absolutely. And it's one of those situations where you have the chance to evaluate on a case-by-case basis. So if someone's saying, I'm going to be doing affordable housing, but they're only creating 3 units, does it pass that test for you all of, is this going to be available to be in a CEA? Are we going to use this tool in order to do this? And so that's kind of the beauty of a CEA, is that, it goes to not only a staff evaluation, but your evaluation. And then also, because it's a public contract, it has public comment period, because each of these will have a public hearing process.
Thank you, Marlo. Any other questions, anybody? Okay, so I think at this point, it would just make sense for us to, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the credit enhancement agreement program as it aligns with both the current TIF agreements.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I need clarification. What did you just do? What did you just make a motion on?
I just motioned to approve the credit enhancement agreement program.
Okay,
Just to, yeah, for us to
thank you.
continue or begin to use this as a tool in our community. essentially. All right, did I get a second? Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving the credit enhancement agreement program, say aye. Jeff?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. And now moving on to the second TIF Transit District Amendment. Thank you, DeCarlo.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, bye Glenn. Have a good evening. All right, so, moving on to the transit TIF, similar, action for the council this evening to potentially approve this amendment. Does anyone have any questions or discussion before we go ahead? Jeff, go ahead.
I think DeCarlo, I just want to highlight that what DeCarlo said about what a TIF really is. It's meant to be putting resources towards enhancing our town. So when the TIF disappears at its expiration, that we then have more taxable properties, more taxable availability. So at the end of 30 years, that TIF goes away. Now the town can say, oh, wow, look at all this development we did, and we can now increase our taxes. I watched this state bill go through from the very beginning and was against it from the beginning because of what I believe TIFs are meant to be. I will say, for clarity, for everybody's sake, I want to save South Berwick residents tax money, so I'll be voting for this. However, I think that this law and this flies in the face of what a TIF really is meant to be. That's my personal feeling. I feel that we should be really focusing a lot on enhancing taxable opportunities for when the TIF expires. And my understanding is that town halls, municipal buildings are not taxable. We'll be saving our taxpayers money on at the immediate, but for the next 100 years, we didn't put that money towards something that could enhance our tax income. So, that's the struggle that I have, but I will, like I said, I'll be voting in favor of it just because I'm here short term too, so I'm not here for 100 years, so, thank you.
Thank you, Deb. Anyone have anything else they'd like to share? Okay, I'll go ahead and, make a motion to approve the amendment to our transit-oriented TIF district.
Second.
I feel like I'm,
Exhibit E needs to be read in.
thank you, thank you.
Yep, sorry, it's a little bit lengthy.
Okay, let me find exhibit E.
Page 38 or 9.
Oh, it's way up.
39.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to make a motion to adopt the town council order, as I'm about to read it, adopting the first amendment to Town of South Berwick Transit-Oriented Omnibus Municipal Tax Increment Financing District Development Program. Sorry, everyone, this is gonna be long. Whereas the town of South Berwick is authorized pursuant to chapter 206 of title 30A of the Maine revised statutes as amended to amend previously established tax increment financing districts and development programs within the town. And whereas the town designated the town of South Berwick Transit-Oriented Omnibus Municipal Tax Increment Financing District and adopted a development program for the district in order to capture the value of real property improvements made within the district and to enable the use of TIF revenues for various municipal and other economic development projects, which received approval from the Maine Department of Economic and Community Development on April 18, 2023. And whereas the town desires to adopt the first amendment to the district and development program to add an additional project cost and to continue to achieve the district's original goals. And whereas the town council has held a public hearing on February 25th, 2025, upon at least 10 days prior notice published in a newspaper of general circulation within the town, on the question of adopting the first amendment to the development program for the district in accordance with the requirements of 30A MRS section 5226. And whereas the town council has considered the comments provided at the public hearing, both for and against the adoption of the first amendment to the development program, if any, and whereas it is expected that approval will be sought and obtained from the department approving the first amendment to the town of South Berwick Transit-Oriented Omnibus Municipal Tax Increment Financing District and Development Program. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. Section 1, the town of South Berwick hereby adopts the first amendment to the town of South Berwick Transit-Oriented Omnibus Municipal Tax Increment Financing District and Development Program pursuant to the following findings, terms, and provisions. Section 2, the town council hereby finds and determines that pursuant to title 30A MRS section 5226 pertaining to TIF district and development program amendment, this first amendment to the development program does not result in the district being out of compliance with any of the conditions of 30A MRS section 5223, which pertain to the percentage of area within the district that is suitable for commercial use, the TIF acreage caps for single TIF districts, and for all TIF districts in the town, the total TIF district valuation cap. The first amendment to the development program will make a contribution to the economic growth and well-being of the town of South Berwick and the surrounding region, and will contribute to the betterment of the health, welfare, and safety of the inhabitants of the town of South Berwick, including a broadened and improved tax base and economic stimulus, and therefore constitutes a good and valid public purpose. Section 3, the town manager or his duly appointed representative is hereby authorized, empowered, and directed to submit the first amendment to the development program to the department for review and approval pursuant to the requirements of 30A MRS section 5226. The foregoing adoption of the first amendment to the development program shall automatically become final and shall take full force and effect upon receipt by the town of approval of the first amendment to the development program by the department, without requirement of any further action by the town council, or any other party. Section 5, the town manager or his duly appointed representative is hereby authorized and empowered at his discretion from time to time to make such revisions to the documents related to the first amendment to the development program as he may deem reasonably necessary or convenient in order to facilitate the process for review and approval of the first amendment to the development program by the department, so long as such revisions are not inconsistent with these resolutions or the basic structure and intent of the council in adopting the first amendment to the development program. This order shall take effect immediately upon adoption. Thank you. I'll go ahead and make a motion to adopt the amendment, to adopt the first amendment to the town of South Berwick Transit-Oriented Omnibus Municipal Tax Increment Financing District Development Program as read.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of moving forward with the amendment to the TIF district, say aye. Jeff?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you everyone for listening to me for that one. All right, I think that takes care of both new business 1 and 2, so we can go ahead and get back into our normal meeting structure. So now I'm jumping back to approving our minutes from our last council meeting. Does anyone have any edits to the minutes from February 11th?
Yeah.
Yes,
So there's just one organizational amendment where last week I made a motion to bump up DeCarlo, even though he was speaking in the manager's minutes. So the order of it's not recorded. Hold on. I'll get it together in a second here. So the order of how the sequence of the order of the meeting is a little off, because we went from the agenda item number 1 of unfinished business to agenda item number 2 of new business, and then bounced back up to, so it just needs, just so it lines up sequentially with how the meeting actually went. But other than that, looks great, Monique.
thank you. Thank you, Melissa. Any other edits? All right, I'll go ahead and make a motion to adopt the meeting minutes from February 11th, 2025, as amended with the rearrangement that Melissa mentioned.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I just want to note that this, because we did have several emails that we received at the last meeting, the, all of the emails will be appended to these minutes and then posted to our website once they're finalized. Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Jeff?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. All right, that takes us to the signing of the treasurer's warrant. Let me repeat it. So we have a treasurer's warrant for February 20th, 2025. I'll make a motion that we sign the treasurer's warrant dated February 20th, 2025, in the amount of $365,930.86.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Jeff?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Right, next we have reports and presentations about Ag Adventist Conservation Program. I know we have a couple of folks here this evening. You guys come up and introduce yourselves, and thanks for being here tonight.
Hi, thank you. Will you have the presentation? There it is. Great. So I am Robin Kerr. I'm the Parks Natural Resource Manager for the town of York, and this is Ben.
I'm Ben Jankowski. I'm the Conservation Stewardship Coordinator for York Parks and Rec at Mount Ecomenicus.
And Pat Robinson, who's the chair of the Conservation Commission, asked us to come back again this year to present our annual update to the council. And that's what brings us here tonight. We had submitted the PowerPoint presentation and then also some additional reports, a stewardship and an outreach report that contains more detail about what was accomplished this past year. And there's also some hard copies over there if anybody else is interested. So if we could just go to the next slide.
I can go first.
Okay.
All right, so I wanted to just give a little bit of background for people. I think most people are familiar with the history of Mount A and how it came to be what it is today, but just for those who aren't, I'll just give a little brief background. The mountain at one time was actually an army base. It was a radar station during World War II. After that, it was purchased privately and made into the Big A ski area. The remnants still exist today, and then operated from the mid-60s through the mid-1970s, and they just couldn't make it economically viable. And the owner of the ski area proposed putting 3,500 condominiums on top of Mount A and in the broader region. A grassroots effort formed in South Berwick and in York, and they got together and they voted to block that proposal from moving forward. And then the town of York actually bought the ski area out of bankruptcy back in 1980. At that time, there was some studies done that started to look at the greater area and kind of how unique the Mount A region is was recognized. And that led to the beginning of a conservation effort, and different organizations, land trusts, the state started buying up land. And since the early 80s, that's gone from a 200-acre ski area to now an area that we manage that's about 10,000 acres. And that's part of a broader effort that's 17,000 acres involving more towns in the Mount A region. So it really is a huge area. So our work is this 10,000 acre management area. And, you know, for a long time, it just sort of sat there. And as it became better known, it got more and more visitation. And with that came, you know, different pressures. And that's where the Mount A Steering Committee was formed, which is what Robin will introduce.
Yeah, so on that slide, you can see a bunch of logos, and those represent our partners. So it includes the towns of South Berwick and York, the York and Kittery Water Districts, Great Works Regional Land Trust, the York Land Trust, and then also Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. And so together, this committee works to protect the region's water quality and wildlife habitat while managing sustainable recreational opportunities in that management area. And to do this, they do this through the development and implementation of a trail plan, a public access and trail plan, and by contributing funds that support the project supplies, contracts, seasonal salaries for crew, now park rangers that do the intensive hand labor that is required to remediate trails, protect important habitat, lead a growing workforce of volunteers, and guide an increasing number of visitors. And collectively, this makes up the Mount A Conservation Program. So we're already on the slide now. Why? Our why is, why do we do this work? We talked in greater detail last year when we were here, so we're trying to keep this short, so it's just an update, but it's important to talk about why the Mount A region is so special. So briefly, it is a focus area of statewide significance, and that is because it is one of the largest remaining expanses of undeveloped forests in coastal New England. It contains many species and natural communities that are reaching their range limits. So southern species are reaching their northern limit, and vice versa for the northern species reaching their southern limit. And so it's unique mixing ground. Due to the unique topography and underlying bedrock, we have lots of uplands, the three hill area, but also low and wetlands. And we have one of the highest concentration of vernal pools in the state, vernal pools and pocket wetlands, which are all considered critical habitat. So all of these things together make up an incredible species diversity, including a number of rare plants and animals, and rare and significant habitat communities to include things like spotted and Blanding's turtles and sweet pepper bush, sassafras, and featherfoil for plants, and then Atlantic white cedar swamp and chestnut oak woodlands. And the work that we do each year aims to protect these resources while managing recreational opportunities to include hiking, biking, ATV riding, horseback riding, hunting, trapping, birding, you name it. Lots of recreational opportunities. And so we do this with the help of our cooperating landowners, our seasonal staff, and our volunteers. Next up.
So Mount A depends heavily on volunteers. It has since this effort began, and it will into the future. We hosted 8 volunteer days this summer. They happen on Saturdays for the public. We had great attendance at most of those, except for the rainy ones. We have a trail adoption program where people can sign up to get some training. We provide tools, and we ask that they come out a minimum once a season, and especially after a big weather event, and just try to, help us out and get out there and keep these trails well maintained for the public. We work with corporate groups as well. We had Serve with Liberty come, Liberty Mutual this summer with a big group. We had Wright Pierce Engineering come, meeting with the crew from the USS North Dakota tomorrow, actually, to come and do another workday with us for 2026. We have an Eagle Scout group, and then last but not least, Mount A works with a not-for-profit group, the Friends of Mount Agamenticus, that formed to both fundraise for stewardship and education. So again, and volunteers are essential, huge part of what makes us work.
Next slide, please. Thank you. So some habitat protection highlights this year. There's a lot more that goes into, the trail work that protects habitat, but specifically this year, over 200 native plantings were planted. Sorry, that included live stakes and bare root plants, in species like nannyberry, elderberry, and dogwood. About 24 acres were surveyed for invasive plants in our cedar and red maple swamps, and then over 100 hours spent on manual removal of invasive plant species, mostly buckthorn, but we also hit things like knotweed and spurge, bittersweet, loosestrife, garlic mustard, barberry, burning bush, to name a few. And then also promoting more native shrubland and pollinator-friendly species. We did a milkweed seedling giveaway and seed bombs in the fall as well to promote those habitats.
So trail maintenance, that's really kind of the heart of what we do, with our seasonal crew anyway. And so most of Mount A's trails were inherited. They weren't built for today's uses. They're, old wood roads and cart paths, or the remnants of a ski trail that runs straight up and down the mountain with a lot of erosion. So a lot of our work is that kind of, remediation, trying to make it so the trail isn't in a puddle or in the mud or actively falling down the hill. So a lot of that work is building boardwalks, rerouting trails, trying to put in switchbacks, areas so the water sheds away from the trail. A notable project this past summer, that's the photo, was a complete rebuild of a 90-foot ATV boardwalk on our Cedar Trail in South Berwick. That's our longest boardwalk. There's a lot of trucking lumber in and out of there. So that's kind of big project. On the rainy days, what our crew does is they work on trail signage. That's been a great project for us. We router all the signs ourselves. We have directional signs at every corner. And that's something that our crew really prides itself on building and taking care of. So definitely good work done this summer.
And then our outreach and education highlights. We have had over 1,300 registered visitors this year. Those include the AMC and other hiking groups. We've had retirement associations come, including the Active Retirement Association from Dover, along with lots of ceremonies and scout groups, and lots of summer camps and school groups. A lot of the school groups come from Maine and New Hampshire, but also as far away as Massachusetts. They don't get to stay very long, but they do make it there. This year we look forward to hosting Marshwood's Project Red for their sunrise event. So folks from all over. Programming highlights include partnerships with the senior centers, again, with school groups and day camps, the new and the old. New this year, we offered our first Wild Wonders Day Camp this year, and hosted things like our traditional 3-hill hike with partners from Great Works Regional Land Trust. We also hosted other special events, including a partnership with the water departments to teach about watersheds and water usage, and partnered with our friends of Mount A with the Big A 50K and our Mount A Trail Challenge. Both are fundraising events, getting people out on the trails, but also a fundraiser, so proceeds benefiting the work at the conservation program. All of this is done in addition to the regular stuff that doesn't make the highlights real, but it's, addition to our online presence through the website, social media, group email distribution list, our friends newsletter, and more. Let's see, I think next slide, I'm next, right? Yes, thank you. There's also our annual visitor use survey where we glean information from our visitors. This year we had 520 total surveys conducted. We're still working on crunching some of that data, so I don't have any fancy graphs to show you this year yet. But we know that we have about 44% of our uses coming locally. And this data we look at tells us information about first-time visitors, frequent users, what they're doing, what seasons, and it kind of breaks out how and where they recreate. While we know this is just a snapshot of our estimated 50,000 annual visitors that come to the region, we also know it provides an opportunity for us to track our trends, an opportunity to receive comments and feedback from our users, with suggestions directly from them, as well as our ability to answer questions and address any concerns.
Kind of looking ahead to the future a little bit, Mount A applied for a grant through the Maine Recreational Trails Program, which we were awarded $120,000. And that is to upgrade our Universal Access Trail, which is a 1 mile ADA accessible loop at the summit of Mount A. That's been there about 10 years now. It's proven pretty challenging to maintain. It's very susceptible to washouts. We're out there with shovels every time it rains. And also to update the drainage, the sustainability of that, replace rotting boardwalks. And it's going to be a professional trail crew doing that work. And we'll get to learn from their crew at the same time. So pretty unique opportunity. It does require a 20% match on our part, which the Friends of Mount A are well on their way to fundraising, which has been really great for us. So this is just, kind of to highlight how unique the Mount A partnership is. To go from a 200-acre defunct ski area to a 10,000-acre public forest with a trail network that we're managing is no small feat. And that happened through these partnerships, through the steering committee with volunteers, through these groups working together. I don't know of any other partnership in conservation like that anywhere in the state of Maine. And South Berwick is a part of that, and it's, in your backyard. It's pretty neat. I think there's something to be said for that. So.
I've been dropping that all day. As hopefully you understand, it takes many hands to and backs and wheelbarrows and more to make this work happen. And certainly we encourage folks to get involved, and you can do so in many different ways. So this slide just highlights those options. So there's a chart of a calendar of sort of upcoming programs that include walks, but also volunteer work days. You can join the Friends of Mount A. You can even come and work for us. So we are hiring currently for our seasonal crew. So information about all of these things are on our website. Please check it out and join us if you can. We'd love to have you. And then our final slide. I need to give credit to our park ranger, Kaylee Rich, who took this photo. It's a barred owl who's this, along with 2 others, have been seen at the mountaintop frequently over the winter. There's about 3 barred owls that have been observed around the mountain. This one's perched on a regrowth stake. The Center for Wildlife has explained to us that the 3 are likely young individuals. They are likely first year birds. Those first year birds tend to be inexperienced hunters, and they like it in more open areas for easier prey. And I feel like this is just a nice example of sort of the impact of the habitat enhancements that this work does. So kind of fitting But just in conclusion, just want to reiterate our appreciation to South Berwick for your past and continued support for our work. And I want you to know that it also helps to leverage additional partner support and contributions along with state and local grants and donations of time, materials, and funding from other folks. And we couldn't do it without your support and that of Pat's and the Conservation Commission. So it's our contact information if anybody wants more. And here to answer any questions if you have them.
Great, thank you. Anyone? Questions for Robin?
I was out on the water the water trails around the water district, month ago.
Okay,
A friend of mine, right before we get all the snow.
before the.
Absolutely beautiful out. I mean, the trail maintenance all around there is just absolutely beautiful.
Awesome.
So between what you do and what they do, it's a great asset for the community.
Awesome, great to hear. Thank you. I'm glad you got out there.
Been a long time since I've seen Folly Pond.
Yeah.
Well,
We actually co-hosted a walk through that area last year too, and we hope to make that an annual event if anyone's interested in. It was a hike from the summit down to York River. So,
Wow.
yeah, we got shuttled back.
Okay, I was gonna say, that's a hike.
Thank you both for being here tonight. One thing that I wanted to suggest, you mentioned that you had the USS North Dakota coming to help soon. South Berwick, we actually just adopted, and we have a partnership with the USS Washington for the next 2.5 years. So I'm also thinking that potentially could be an opportunity where we could, kind of through the USS Washington, partner with you guys to, is another option for that.
And it would work really good pushing ND1 against the Washington crew. They're very
Ooh,
competitive between those two boats.
I like it. That's interesting.
It could work with it. It could work very well.
Great.
I have a quick question about the work days. Do you have like a recommended minimum age? Because I've got 2 little kids that would love to try to help out. It'd probably be much help, but is that something that is encouraged, or is it like, wait until they're like, or
How old are they?
8 and 6?
Okay,
So like I said, probably not doing a lot of helping, but
yeah,
they love the earth. They love like the programs that they do in school for Earth Day and stuff like that. They're all about it. So I don't know if you'll have like a minimum age.
yeah, so not really, we try, if we know in advance, we try especially to like cater to that, because even just getting them out there, even if they're just picking up some sticks in the trail or something, they feel like they're helping out and it's getting them out there. So there are things like, on our Earth Day, work day, we're picking up trash. I don't know if you want them picking up trash.
No.
You never know. But yeah, they're even like pulling invasives, there's smaller plants that they can pull, and yeah, sometimes there's like some painting stuff and yeah, so we can work together if
Thank
you let us know too.
Any other questions for Ben, Rob?
Thank you.
Thank you both for coming out.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate all of your hard work. Thank you.
Awesome, thanks.
All right, moving on to reports presentation number 2, Town Manager, Police Chief. We have Chief Berger here this evening. I think who's my first, Tim?
I'm chair, members of the council, I've been informed by the police chief, that we'll be losing our community liaison mental health worker. So I'd like to turn it over to ask Chief Ruger to come up to the podium. He has the direct information and explain what's happened.
Good evening. Thank you for seeing us here today. I was on vacation for I came back about a week and a half ago, and then Lieutenant, it's my first day back, Lieutenant sits me down and says, well, I got some good news and I got some bad news. So we went over the good news and then I went to the bad news. Well, the bad news was I was finding out that Erin McGann, our behavioral health liaison, is going to be leaving us. And then a kick in the butt later on was, then she called me up and told me the same thing. Then the third one was I opened up my email and I received this. Dear Chief Ruger, please accept this letter as my formal notice of resignation from the position as options liaison with the South Berwick Police Department. It has been a privilege to work alongside the SBPD and serve the citizens of South Berwick. I have felt both challenged and appreciated in this role, and I'm deeply grateful for the experiences and relationships I've built here. The work I've been able to do, whether providing mental health training or assisting individuals in accessing social services, has been incredibly meaningful. I am honored to have been part of this team and to have contributed to such important efforts. I hope I will be able to be part of this team again in the future. I also want to express my sincere appreciation for your commitment and that of the town to ensuring that both employees and citizens have access to the mental health care they need. Your dedication to this cause has been truly inspiring. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this community and for your support throughout my time here. Sincerely, Aaron McGann.
So at this point, Chief, you have a presentation, and I think, Madam Chair,
Yeah. Chief, thank you for reading through that. I have a certificate here, Aaron, and for you as well, but I just wanted to say a couple of things. Remind me, and I apologize that I don't remember the timeline. How long have you been with South Berwick?
14 months.
14 months.
I
So
feel like
not-
I'm talking about a baby when I say that.
A year-ish. I couldn't remember. I know it wasn't a super long time. But I just know from speaking with the chief and from others in the community, a year is probably for you, doesn't feel like a short length of time, but is not that long. But I think the impact that you've had on this community, the staff, I think is just immeasurable. And I wish you the absolute best. But I'm also really sad that just as everyone else is, that you'll be leaving this community. But thank you so much for everything that you've done.
Thank you. Can I say something?
Yes,
Thank you so much. I have absolutely loved working here. I don't know that I've worked directly with everybody here, but I have worked with a lot of the staff in the town and of course with the police department. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Chief Ruger. His dedication to making sure that mental health services are available to everybody is just amazing. And I appreciate it so much. And I really do, I meant every word of my resignation letter. I just have felt so fulfilled and loved and appreciated in this town. I was getting a little bit clamped while he was reading it. I was like, oh my God, am I really leaving? But I do appreciate everything that everyone has done to make me both feel at home, but also make sure that everybody knows that I exist and so that I can help people as they need it. So thank you all so very, very much.
Thank you so much. I'll just go ahead. I have a fancy certificate for you. So I just want to present this certificate of appreciation to Aaron McGann for your dedication and support to our citizens, employees, and community. On behalf of the town council, employees, and our citizens, we offer you our heartfelt thanks for your caring, dedicated, and compassionate service, helping us to be our best mentally and emotionally as we can be. Because of your caring attitude for our town, you will always be welcome here in South Berwick. You will be missed. Thank you for going above and beyond.
Thank you so much. It is absolutely.
You don't have to accept it. I didn't accept Barbara's resignation. You don't have to accept it.
Yeah, I wish I couldn't. So within our standard operating procedures, the police department, we can give out awards to civilians and we can also give them out to our own police department members, the officers there. So today, I would like to give Aaron the Community Service Commendation. This certifies that Aaron McGann has been awarded the South Berwick Police Department's Community Service Commendation Award for excellence in service to their community and fostering community relations, February 25th, 2025.
Very, very much. I so appreciate this. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
so just one last piece from us. On behalf of myself and the assistant town manager, and all the staff, especially the staff you directly helped. I want to say thank you. We'll miss you.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. I really have loved working here so much. So thank you all very, very much for allowing me to do this and allowing me to help people. So thank you. I'm very honored. Thank you.
And just so everybody knows, Erin's leaving Sweetser. She was still an employee of Sweetser. That's where she's leaving. She's not leaving us. She was
Yes.
gifted to us by Sweetser. And adapted very well to our community. She's leaving Sweetser to go to a job in the state of Maine. And I know from several employees that we've worked with, They have reached out and said you will be missed.
And you can always come back.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move on to, our, we'll move on to our public comment section before I open it up to anyone in the room. The council did just receive 2 emails over the past couple of weeks, so since there's only 2, I'm gonna read them both into the record. Give me 1 second, and then I'll open it up to anyone who would like to speak further. So the first one is from Hannah Bulger, 94 Oldfield Road. Her email reads, I attended the town council meeting on February 11th, and there were questions about why there are concerns for immigrants now. Question mark, here's the why. Historically, schools, churches, and hospitals have been hands off when it comes to speech by ICE unless there is a judicial warrant. Now the administration is saying that federal law enforcement, quote, use your common sense, quote, just being in the country is a crime. Quote, there will be collateral damage. It sets up profiling due to tips, hunches, skin color, concerning into the secondary concern that local law enforcement will be railroaded or sidelined by federal law enforcement. Without a plan and agreed to system in place, the chaos that would ensue at the local level would be traumatic for those persons targeted, and students, school staff, and law enforcement who witness it. It can happen anywhere, and I'd like to see our town be ahead of this. Hannah Bulger, 94 Oldfield Road. I'll be forwarding this to Monique, so it'll be included in the record for the meeting minutes for this evening. And the second one is from Brad Christo at 195 Oldfield Road, sent on February 12th, 2025. Dear councilors and town manager, thank you for last night's meeting. I think he's referencing the meeting before February 11th. I have a few questions. Where will you post emails and letters you received and which constituents wrote their concerns to the agenda item under unfinished business? Item 1, quote, discussion of council questions presented to town manager for the public to read. Question 2 posed, Councilor James stated he would not respond to these letters individually, yet proposed he would submit a written response to these letters as a whole. Will he write one email/letter addressed to all of those 15 or so constituents? If so, where will he also then post his letter on the town's website for the public to read? 3, Lieutenant Stevens aptly responded to questions on how a memorandum of agreement or an MOA would work. My understanding is a federal agency contacts South Berwick Police, presumably Chief Ruger seeking an MOA, then the chief shall contact the council of the requested MOA. Does the council then convene a special session to discuss the MOA? If so, presumably this requires a quorum, and what is the notification period to notify the public of such session? Please let me know if you have any questions to mine, and thank you for considering that. Respectfully, Brad Christo. So I will be forwarding both of those to Monique to include those in the record. And just to answer at least the first question from Mr. Christo regarding the meeting minutes, I've addressed that a couple of times this evening. Both of these emails will be appended to the minutes for this meeting, and then on our website, if you're familiar, we have meeting date, then there's a link for the agenda, a link for the supporting docs, then a link for the meeting minutes, once that get posted once they're approved. So once we have gone through the process to approve minutes, that's where that information will be posted. Those are the emails. Does anyone else in the room have anything they would like to say, any additional public comment? Anyone on the phone? Okay, any reactions or anything that the council wants to add to anything we've received this evening?
Clarification. I made the statement that I do not answer back to the individual emails because we are a council, we act as a council, so when we talk about it, we give our deliberations then. I'm not gonna write a letter, store it anywhere. When we talk about them here, we'll answer them here, we'll discuss them as what, that's why I do not, if it's a simple one, if it's a question directed to me, I will answer it. If it's a question that's directed on council-based decisions, I'm not gonna answer it until the council discusses it. So we'll do it exactly how you did it.
Thank you. All right, any other public comments this evening? Anyone to? Okay, all right. We'll move on to unfinished business number 1, downtown revitalization and comprehensive plan committee members. We have scheduled a last meeting or a couple of meetings ago, I'm not remember specifically, we planned to schedule interviews for the downtown revitalization committee and the comprehensive plan committee that we currently have open for applications to schedule those interviews for this coming Thursday. What is the status for that?
At this point, we have how many
Ooh, correct me.
two, so my recommendation is for you not to do that, for two people, is to reset the date sometime later in March and see if you can get the whole group here.
Does anyone have any concerns with
No,
that
it's
recommendation?
fantastic call. That's right.
Are we doing group interview with all of these or is
Not,
it?
well,
No.
I say group, not a group, but like the group
Okay,
in one night, doing
okay,
them all. in one
gotcha.
night. Sorry, I misspoke.
Nope, that's fine.
Yeah, I think if we pick a date a little bit further out with like a little bit more advance notice, we might be able to get everybody in on the same evening. However, I wanna be cognizant of, are we holding up any progress on things by not filling these
No,
committees?
no, we're
Okay.
okay, we're moving forward with,
Okay,
right now, there's a lot of stuff in flux, but we're moving forward.
okay, so for action on this item, do we need a formal motion to reschedule?
Yes.
Probably. Okay, let's talk about a date. So next week, next Tuesday and Thursday, also a friendly reminder for everybody that we have budget workshops on Tuesday and Thursday of next week. Then the following week, we have our standard council meeting on the 11th. And then the 13th, I don't think it's a budget workshop day, is it? Or it is? No, it's not.
Madam Chair, I recommend you push it all the way out to the end of March.
Okay.
People are away, the winter time, they're moving
Okay.
stuff, there's a lot going on for some reason right now.
Mhm.
So I'd give them till like the last week of March if you could, or first week in April, whatever you do, but I'd go that far out, because we had a difficult time trying to get people.
Got it, okay. All right, I will maybe suggest then Thursday, April 3rd. What do you guys think about that day?
Sure.
Can we maybe schedule, like, if somebody's available to come in prior to or around the town council meeting, can we try to schedule a couple throughout the month at our meetings, or is that?
Oh, like ahead of our meetings?
Or something, if we have two people that are available on, we come in at 6 o'clock and do. But, get a couple of them knocked out, so we're not putting all of our eggs in one basket and then having people drop out.
So here's my only concern. They're signing up for a committee where they're signing up for time. If they can't make time to come for an interview, how are they gonna make time to come for the committee meetings? That's my only concern. If we give them enough time and say, on this day in March, please schedule it. Because again, they're signing up to come to meetings. If they are struggling getting here with enough time, I struggle with that myself.
My thought is if you go far enough out, then if they have 2 or 3 or 4 weeks out, whatever it is, then that's enough time to play your schedule or you're not interested. One or the other. That's my recommendation.
Another option, what if we tabled this tonight, reached out to the applicants, gave a couple of dates and said,
Yeah,
what could the majority of you make? And then, but then again, that kind of nullifies what John said. If we set a date, if you can't make it, then how committed are you, if we put it that far out? So it's just an option, but.
I mean, I think your point is totally fair, and I also think that like the way that many people operate is like specific days of the week are like open or closed, depending on what's going on with their family lives and stuff, so potentially proposing a couple different days of the week might give us a little bit more flexibility.
Madam Chair, I would recommend to keep March open. We're about to go into the budget calendar, budget season, and I predict a very busy budget. We may have a very busy budget schedule popping up in March with some additional meetings.
Why don't we do this? What do you guys think about this? Let's suggest and propose the applicants Tuesday, April 1st, that's not a regular council meeting, and Tuesday, April 1st and Thursday, April 3rd, and say, do either of these dates work for you? And if we need to kind of spread them potentially across 2 days, those are 2 off days for us that we could potentially come in for a short period of time. Does that work for you guys? And if everyone ends up coming, and if one day ends up working for all the applicants, then we just come one day, but at least then we're giving them some options.
Just make it clear it's not an April Fool's joke.
Yes, okay.
It is the 3rd on Thursday.
The 3rd on the Thursday, the 1st and the 3rd, yes. Does that work for everybody? Just kind of in the like 6 o'clock timeframe. And then we'll just, at our next meeting, we can maybe kind of see where we landed with hearing back from people. Okay, so I will go ahead and make a motion that we, reschedule any interviews for the downtown revitalization or comprehensive plan committee that were scheduled for this coming Thursday, the 27th. And instead aim to schedule those for either April 1st or April 3rd, starting as early as 6 p.m.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of doing the interviews on April 1st and April 3rd, say aye. Jeff?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Bill?
Aye.
Don?
Aye.
Aye, motion passes 5-0. Thank you to staff for all that coordination. I know juggling all of that is not easy.
Madam Chair, point of order.
Sure.
There's been a change. We received a resignation from the planning board.
Okay.
I also received an application from the planning board. I apologize, it was supposed to be on this agenda, somewhere between my office and the clerk's office, it got lost.
Okay.
It's not on this agenda, it will be on the next agenda, but make note that we have received that, and it will be on the very next agenda, and I apologize.
Great. Thank you for the update. No worries. We have a full planning board at the moment, so we're in good shape, but it sounds like someone has resigned. All right, now moving on to new business number 3, schedule a public hearing for 5 new registered caregivers. Bear with me, I'm just trying to. We have a very large.
96.
Thank you. All right, so, as many people in the community probably know, over the past couple of years, several years, the town council spent a decent amount of time on local ordinances regarding registered caregivers. And we received from the State Office of Cannabis Policy a list of registered caregivers that do business in our town that we weren't aware of, and these applications are now completed and need to be approved by the town council based on the ordinance that we enacted after a public hearing in order for them to be able to continue to do business. So our action for this evening is to schedule that public hearing, and the manager recommends March 11th for that public hearing. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
Nope, so you've been sent the packets. I think there's one piece missing from the packets that I gotta chase down tomorrow. The code enforcement's letter of recommendation, that's not in there. I checked this afternoon. That was brought to my attention by Council Costello, so I'll chase that down. These came up, we were not aware of these. The State Office of Cannabis Policy sent Jenny the list. And then we started to pursue that based on the ordinance and came up with this list. So currently, whether it's March 11th, these are gonna all be, they're not renewals, they're all first time applications because you haven't been here before. So whether it's March 11th or you want to split half and half, you can. If you want to do something like that, but they gotta go to public hearing first and then we can be put on the agenda for passage.
Is that a change in Maine law? Because for the beginning of this and for the longest time, OPM, OPW, whatever they want to call them this week, wouldn't give us a list of
Yes.
registered caregivers.
It was just changed in, I can't remember when, either November or January, I can't remember. Phil Saucer called, might have been November, right around November, I think, October, November. There was a change.
And we're
Yeah.
still in the same, as long as they meet the ordinance of setbacks and whatnot, we still are bound by state law that registered caregivers.
Correct.
Okay.
And the same with retail, as long as they're in the right zone, so forth. They have to, so what they changed in the law, not only did they notify us, they also added that you have to meet local stipulations. So now they have to meet our ordinances as well. That's why they're here. None of them are at fault for them not being here. They were going along in the world just like everybody else, and when all this freed up, that's how it happened.
And I think that's like something I remember we sort of anticipated would happen when we implemented the ordinance. We knew that there would be situations where there would be caregivers that we weren't necessarily aware of, and how would this process potentially be triggered. One thing I want to be cognizant of on this is, one, I mean, I was certainly on the council when we went through and established all of these ordinances, and I it's been a little while. And I also wanted to appreciate the fact that like Bill, in particular, Melissa, I think you were not, that we were not all present for the development of those ordinances, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so, I'm just kind of want to put out there if there's any like kind of refresher on that, if we could, I'm wondering if like maybe Jenny perhaps could be available to just field any questions that we may have ahead of those public hearings.
Yeah, we can certainly reach out, but it's ordinance, 14067, 167, 2, 67, 3, is that right? Correct? 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, 1, 2, and 3. And, or actually, 1.
It's the administrative license.
Retail and yes, you can certainly look at those. Jenny will be here for the public hearing. She'll be here on March 11th and answer any questions. She'll be available as well as, the applicants. We're telling them if that's when you're scheduling them, then they'll be notified tomorrow that they have to be here and answer questions.
Okay.
So,
And we need to have 5 individual public yeah, there's 5
you
new.
know, you'll have one public hearing,
Mhm.
but each of them will be involved in that public hearing. So you'll
Got it.
have one public hearing date
Mhm.
and you list the 5 names of the companies.
Got it,
So
okay,
you're calling them to the public hearing that day, and then it'll show up on the warrant, on the agenda as each individual place to, will be voting for a license.
okay. And do we have is there any urgency or like timeline we're trying to hit with these
No.
public hearings? Okay,
I would recommend sooner than later. I would not postpone it, because then that's the precedence we're setting for somebody else who comes in and says, well, you didn't move fast on theirs.
absolutely. What do you guys think? Do you want to do the 11th, or I was perhaps maybe going to just suggest pushing out one additional meeting to give a little bit of time for that kind of getting up to speed on the marijuana ordinance. If anyone needs that.
As, for the renewal,
It's not renewable.
These are all new, brand new.
for the renewal.
Yeah.
What if we start on, if we do this on March 11th and we pass, then March 11th, 2026, they'll be all back. And then we'll be negotiating budget and stuff like that as well. Is that gonna be a problem for town, us, stuff like that moving forward? I
No,
understand.
not for that. No,
Okay.
That shouldn't be an effect, because it's a regular scheduled meeting.
Oh, I see what you're saying, like, are we signing up for like every March, is this, we're processing all of these renewals
Exactly.
potentially?
That was all.
Got it, okay, thanks, Jeff.
Madam Chair.
Yeah.
So hopefully, once they go through the process, where they're new to the process, hopefully next year will be a lot smoother. They'll just submit the renewal, check the renewal and application, pay the check, have a quick public hearing and move on. This year will be the most painful, I guess, if you can say it. The adjustment. But Jenny's done a great job working with everybody. She's guided them through the process, working on the applications.
What do we think, 11th or the 25th? Is everyone okay with the 11th?
That's good.
I'm good. I'm good with the 11th, but I think maybe we should start it at 6, because is that a council? It's a council meeting night?
Yeah, that's a good
I
idea.
just think with having 5 applicants and then some of us will have still a lot of questions, just to, you know, I think maybe we should shoot for a little bit earlier, just so it's not a super, super long night.
I think that's a good idea. Is that any issues for any councilors? Okay, great. All right, I will go ahead and make a motion, that we schedule a public hearing for March 11th, 2025 at 6:00 PM, Town Hall, 3rd floor, for the 5 registered caregivers seeking a new license.
If you have names in front of you, we'll call them
Oh, thank you.
individually. You gotta say each one. And then, as you say them, clerk, put them in that particular order, because that's the order we'll go through them.
Okay, I don't have a consolidated list of all the different ones, so give me a second. I'm gonna scrap that motion, new motion, to go ahead and schedule a public hearing for March 11th at 6:00 PM at Town Hall on the 3rd floor, to hold a public hearing for a new license for local registered caregivers, specifically. Like, sorry, there's so many documents I can't quickly find who is the people that I,
Is the company name?
Yeah, company names.
Find the actual
Hidden Greens is
application.
the first one.
So Kaversky Industries LLC doing business as Hidden Greens.
where are you seeing?
So,
Page 100.
yeah,
Thank
sorry.
you. It's okay. Okay, including Kaversky Industries LLC doing business as Hidden Greens. And
Tim, when she's making the motion, does she need to delegate what kind of license they're applying for? Because.
No,
okay.
we'll do that in the public hearing.
Okay.
Nope. Just it's cannabis.
I'm sorry, this is really tricky to have to read off these business names because I can't find them quickly. Anyone else?
Try.
Flora, number 2,
Yeah.
okay.
I strike the farm.
High Striker Farm is number 3. Grow Cannabis.
The 270 documents.
$5.99 LLC. Okay. Can I get a second on that one? A very long motion.
Second.
Thank you. Just checking in, are we all good with? Okay. All those in favor of having the public hearing for these 5 new registered caregivers at 6 o'clock PM on March 11th, say aye. Jeff?
Aye.
Melissa?
I,
Bill?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you everyone for your patience. Just for the public, so you know, we have a ginormous document, over 200 pages, which is why we were starting to come up with that list. But thank you for your patience. Moving on to the town manager's report, I will hand it over to Tim and then.
Highway, been doing obviously snow removal and snow plowing. The roads have been posted today. Website, we're on the website for heavy restricted heavy loads. Police department had 1 arrest, 11 accidents, 88 traffic stops. As the chief said, Aaron, again, gave her notice, Sweetser taking a position with the state. We had 7 police officers at the North Berwick standoff last week assisting North Berwick. And a SWAT team. Fire department, 23 calls in the last year, 23 calls in the last 2 weeks, 80 year to date. Captain Tower had a meeting last week, the New York Emergency Management Association. And with FEMA, some likely the grant project for the new generator high school will be funded anytime soon. Code enforcement had 5 building permits, 1 plumbing permit, 22 inspections, 3 active violations. Increased traffic in the office due to many questions about the new codes coming up, which we'll be doing a presentation shortly for the council. Planning on economic development, aqua protection overlap map. Has been developed through the water district with an aquifer protection map, which will be coming to you for approval. We're trying to get that added to the GIS layer. And they met with MDOT, 1 change that'll happen with the traffic light pattern is the double driveways will be consolidated into 1 safe route. So a lot of our entrances to the streets coming up and down, as they engineer that, they're gonna control the access points for safety reasons. That's it, library.
Library, some of the January stats, their program attendance in January, there's 298 people. The door count for January, 2,524. Items borrowed, 2,449. Computer signups, 101. February events so far, they had a storybook ball, the kids were dressed up, 84 people in attendance. Valentine's jazz concert, they had 25 people there. And their book discussion club had 16 people this month. Normally, they've only had 5, 6, or 7, so this is a big increase to that program. So glad to see it growing. Recreation, Powder House Hill continues to see 300 to 400 people visiting every weekend, which I think is just great. And 100 people are coming on Wednesdays and Friday nights. AARP at the community center is still doing, assisting people with their taxes on Fridays. They have been doing about 20 people a day. They still have a handful of appointments available in April. Senior program, this week they have a Mardi Gras celebration with a ukulele band for music and entertainment. Assessing, the townwide reevaluation, KRT staff will be coming back to visit the commercial properties on March 10th. We are beginning to review all of the new exemptions, all the homestead, veterans, renewable energies, as well as all of the exempt properties this year are going to be re-looked at and re-qualified. And that will be done by our staff here at the town hall, not the KRT group. And those mailings will be going out at the end of February for those exempt properties that will be looked at. Assessing and code are working on an inventory of all the plans downstairs. This will help when the room will need to be cleared out for the renovation for the building. Town clerk's office, Minnie was on vacation last week and Billy was able to hold down the fort all by himself. He did a great job, so thank you, Billy. And Tyann is expected back next week, if all goes well for her. In my area, we are finishing up budget meetings, last minute department head meetings, and doing lots and lots of verifying and double checking all of my formulas. Working on finalizing the plans for the verbal judo class we're holding on March 18th. The tax bill reminder notices went out last week, which has caused a lot of extra phone calls and emails to the office this week. Heather has been fielding all those calls. The $6 million bond through the town hall has been approved earlier ahead of schedule, so that was exciting to hear. And I also got a phone call today from NDOT. I had put in a request a couple weeks ago because we were supposed to receive something in writing about the traffic light in front of Marshwood High School. And I was following up on that. And he called today, apologized for the delay. It was just signed out of the safety office. It will be going to the programming office and it will start being designed. And we are on the docket for that to be started construction in 27. So that was good news.
So I've been working with SMPDC, Paul Schumacher, the attorneys on the Brownfield project on Earl Ave. Because we took that by foreclosure, we'll probably sooner than later, there's a piece for that with the foreclosure. We have to talk about getting an assessed value, an assessment on it. Because of the foreclosure law right now, if there's extra assessed value, or if we have to decide what we're gonna do. We're gonna keep it. Do we pay it the value, extra value to previous owners? So talking with the lawyers right now, trying to figure out the best approach to that. So I think sooner than later, it's gonna end up in your lap, trying to decide the outcome of what do we wanna use it for. Do we wanna keep it to do something like we did with Vista Housing, where we own the land and we rent for affordable housing? Do we wanna sell the property? All those will have different avenues of directions that we'll have to go. So we spent some time with Phil Saucer, our attorney, on the phone today, and that was the focus of discussion. So soon you'll be hearing about that. Mark Lawrence came in and saw me in reference to the block building project. They're in the process of trying to get the funding and hoping that project will start this summer and go forward. Obviously budget meetings. I had several meetings with Jen DiCarlo on our escrow accounts and how we build and develop our escrow accounts. And we are currently updating our processes to better follow the codes. How's that? Best way to say it. We need to exactly follow our codes and standards and not just do willy-nilly things. So with the escrow accounts, we found some loopholes that were needed to tighten up. I want to thank Monique especially for all her hard work in covering the office while Tyann was out. She's done a great job, so thank you. And to Billy for taking last week on all by yourself and doing a great job there. And both of you for working for us and being part of our team and doing a great job on our staff. Thank you. So while I had several free hours, because I had nothing else to do, that's, you know, that's not true. One of the things I did do is, over the weekend, I downloaded the 2025 LD list for the 132nd legislature first session. I've marked off some that I'm going to follow for you, and I just want you to hear a couple of them. LD 658 is an act to lower property taxes by increasing the homestead property tax exemption. Is one. And there is some 300 stuff. These are all basically just going to committee, but I'm going to follow them through committee, and after talking with our state rep, we talked about this and Tiffany came in. So I just want to make sure you know what I'm watching and what I'm doing. And I'm not gonna read all of them, but a couple of them that come to mind that are gonna be critically important. There's several to reduce property taxes for the elderly. There's an LD 406 is an act to repeal the laws providing paid family and medical leave to reimburse the taxpayers and cancel that law. But what's really, and there's a lot of them, in the budget is the governor, if you haven't seen over the weekend, put in a bill to right here. So this is part of her biennial budget. This is gonna become critically important as we move forward in the budget season for us. This is part of her actual budget, it's part TT in her biennial budget. It's called an ambulance provider tax. Beginning July 1, 2026, assesses a tax on all ambulance service providers except for programs run by the Maine National Guard, municipal governments, and nonprofit organizations. The tax is equal to 6% of the entity's operating revenue. York Ambulance is a private ambulance company, they're not municipal. And you know, that's what we're kind of talking about right now. So one of the issues is hypothetically, that if that passes out of committee and goes to the floor and gets passed by a Democratic Senate and Democratic legislature, in 26, private ambulances will be taxed an additional 6%. The purpose of the 6% tax is to help fund the Medicaid programs in the state of Maine. In doing so, my belief is, I have not had communication with York Ambulance, but my belief is that that would be a surcharge and upcharge to both the consumer, who is us, and the customers, who are the citizens. So that would be a double assessment to them. So we are factoring that into our budget as we come to you with budget requests. So, and there are a multitude of others. There's one to resolve, establishing commission to study foreclosure processes. So these are all my notes from that list. I just want you to know that, you know, because this had came up previously, that, you know, were you informed? I'm informed. So I'm following all these laws. Jen is following with me. She rolls her eyes when I tell her this. She's like, I got other stuff to do.
That's the finance stuff.
Yeah, but just to let you know, that's what we're doing, and moving on. That's all I have. Questions?
Any questions for him? Anybody? Counselor comments? Bill? John?
Huge shout out to Public Works. We have hands down the best sidewalks, the best streets anywhere. Unbelievable. At 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm driving on clean streets after all that snow. It's impressive.
Were they at 72 or 40? 40 straight, but total 72. Right?
Yeah, they had, last week, their time cards had 76 hours, but they worked 27 hours straight. That Sunday that snowed all day long, they were out 27 hours straight.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, it shows.
Yep, it's unbelievable. They are fantastic.
And thank you for that. I just want to shout out that, you know, one of the things, and I thank the guys But it is, people don't realize how monotonous and hard it is. And I talked to them, they said that, they said, sometimes we just have to stop and pull over for 5 minutes, we're bug-eyed. And they said, then we have to make our way back to the shop, sleep for 25 minutes, an hour, and get back up, grab a coffee, and get back on the road. And I don't think our taxpayers realize how dedicated, and again, we don't pay for that, but how dedicated the crew is. They don't do a good job, they try to do a great job.
You see it going through other towns too, I mean, the difference between our town and any of the other ones around us.
The town lines show.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just on this topic, we're kind of going off, but on that Sunday morning, the 16th, I think it was, that they were working 27 hours. I finally took Jay up on his offer for 8 years now to go out with the guys, and I got door-to-door service from Nick Charleston, who works for the Public Works Department. He picked me up at my house in the morning, and I rode around for a couple of hours, and I was so glad that I did it, finally, and just some fun things that I learned. You guys might know these, if not, ignore me, but I was surprised that every individual who works with the Public Works Department is dedicated to like a specific route. Like I think like where I work, there's generally kind of a philosophy of like nimbleness and cross training and all of that. And so that was surprising to me, but it also makes total sense after talking with Nick that, they are dedicated to their little section of town, and they start to learn who the people are, who's got bad habits and, things like that. I also learned that, I know sometimes mailboxes are casualties of snow, right, when plows. But oftentimes if our plows do anything with a mailbox, it's because of the snow moving, not the plow hitting the truck. Like, the snow is heavy, and if there's enough of it, there's enough power behind that for it to take out a mailbox.
That's a really good story, but I've whacked some with plows before. I just want to say.
No,
I'll overrated it, I
obviously.
hit them with plows.
Obviously, you hit it with a plow, of course it's gonna be hit, but like, I'm just pointing out for people that, the snow is fairly powerful as well. And it was also abundantly clear to me that there's really no way to have both our roads be cleared and pristine, which they are, and not plow people's driveways in. Like, there's no way to get around that, and I think it's just important for people to know that I think the employees that we have that are driving plow trucks, I think they acknowledge that's annoying. Like, we were out on Earl's Road, and there was a guy out snow blowing, and we went by and plowed his whole driveway in, and and I could tell he was kind of frustrated, but I think he kind of, yeah, but it kind of just goes with, it's part of the sacrifice that we make, I think, to have roads that we have. And so, I just want to share that. I thought it was I'm really happy that I did it, have a whole new perspective on South Berwick, driving around and the snow and when there's no one else on the road. But I think the biggest thing was like, it just kind of showed me how fragile what we have going on is. And all it would take is for us to lose just one or two of those guys, for us to just take one blow to our budget for Public Works, for us to lose one piece of equipment, and the pristine conditions of our roads that we have, I think could go very quickly. And so I think it just kind of had me just really appreciate the people that we have working for this town and how much they care about the community, and certainly the Public Works Department care about taking care of this community. And that extends to not just Public Works, it's everyone, all the staff here, the fire department, police department. But it just has me feeling really grateful for the town that we have, the staff that we have, and the local government structures that we have in place are really important, and we're just really lucky. And since I talked to Ben, I'll just add my other things too. My only other plug, no surprise here, but Friday and Saturday night this weekend, is the One Act play at Marshwood. This is not a musical, but it is Citizens United. It tells the story of the eventual 2010 Supreme Court decision about campaign finance laws and free speech. The set looks really cool. A lot of the kids are cast as Supreme Court justices. I will be there at both shows, 7 p.m. both nights, if you're interested. And then just a reminder for all of us, budget workshops next week. What time are we starting? 6. Thank you. So next Tuesday and Thursday, budget workshops. We're gonna record those. Are we? Yes.
First floor meeting room as well.
First floor meeting room, great. Public is welcome to join us for those. They will be recorded, but they won't be, they're not welcome to kind of participate, but just certainly be present. That's all I have.
I just want to give a big thank you to Jen and probably to Carlo and Town Manager Tim for, after it was, suggested by Representative Roberts at one of our meetings that the town hall could be part of the, TIF could be used for. I can't thank you enough for following up on that and then following through because, there's just, it's a lot of money and to have, part of it come out of the TIF, it shows what the TIF is for. And I just, good job, really, it's gonna make a lot of people happy, so. I just wanted to give a public service announcement reminder that bond fund applications are due February 28th. Quick refresher of what the bond fund is, upon the death of Mrs. Elizabeth Bond, she bequeathed $50,000 to enhance recreation for youth of South Berwick to the town, and we have invested it ever since. There is a lot of funds available, and I jokingly mentioned to Nikki at who is head of our rec department, that she should think about asking for a Zamboni for the ice rink. And they're not expensive. And with seeing the funds available is just something, something to think about, just to help alleviate some of the trials and tribulations of having to resurface that ice rink and clear it all the time with our public works and our fire department. And quick question, where does the ticket sales from Powder House go?
They are self-sustaining, so all of their expenses are paid by their ticket sales. And then they also have a concession stand, which is a little bit separate from what, we take in the town.
Okay, because with as many people that have been visiting, I was thinking that might be able to buy the Zamboni.
We can look into that balance.
Yeah, and that's all I have.
I just want to say thanks, for all the work that's been going on. It's been a busy couple of weeks, and also to just highlight too, the laws that are coming through, Tim. I know it's a heavy lift. I think that, I think there'll be almost immediate value in doing that, and definitely feel free to let us know, specific ones like that you see as impacting us. I'm more than willing to go up and testify in Augusta or write something, and get people involved in our town if it's going to impact us that you see outside of what we're already seeing. That will be valuable too. So don't hesitate to pull on us to get more input up there. So thank you.
Thank you. John?
Madam Chair, move me adjourn.
Second, all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
We'll just have endless meetings.